So I want to apologize to the audience in advance if I'm like off my game, and more importantly, I want to apologize to my guests if like my podcast skills are off today. Please forgive me.
I feel like we should apologize to the audience too, because they have to deal with me.
Right. I do want to, if I can ask you to, before we forget, can you sign a poster for us?
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. So, I don't know if anybody else realizes this, but, and maybe, I don't think it happens to Lacey, but people come up to me at the shows and think that I'm Lacey. Like at SEMA, this guy came up and he was like started talking to me, and so I just went with it. I was like, yeah, did you see the Hummer? Like, it turned out so good, we're so excited about it. Like,
pulled it off.
Yeah, it worked.
And it happened this past weekend too at Dino's. This guy just rolls up and he just points to us. Miss Blair?
You know?
I just lost it.
But like the video of her mudding the Escalade years ago, not the Hummer, the Escalade years and years ago.
That's OG stuff, definitely.
Yeah, like I got like sent that a zillion times. People being like, I thought this was you. And I was like, what? I was like, just because we're both blonde and have blackish glasses.
I guess I have a type.
Yeah, Rami. What the heck? So yeah, no problem. I will sign all of Lacey's posters for you.
Yeah, I want to send a bunch out, so like at least you're here. We'll sign it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like you can, like, worst comes to worst. Like, I mean, she's obviously like, you know, the main, the full meal deal. Like, I could just be the fill-in every once in a while. Like, if you have two shows and you need her at both, I could just go with the other one and dress up and just tell people I am.
Okay, so like, you know, you can be kind of like, you know.
Like, I'm a stunt double.
Stunt double.
Stunt double, yeah. I feel like that would work out.
So you actually.
Lacey, if you're watching this and you need a stunt double, I'm here for you, girl.
Georgia rejected me back in 2017, but you know, I always get the girl sooner or later.
Do you though?
Well, you know, Lacey rejected me back in 2018. Look, here we are. So
I know. I feel like once it was like once you had Lacey, then you were like, I feel like I could get GEORJAH too. Like you had to, you know.
You know, actually speaking of that, it was actually Lacey was somewhat instrumental in getting you on board also. I mean, there was some kind of connection that you and Lacey had. I don't know if it was like, obviously you followed each other, of course, but there was some connection.
They're actually a photographer that both her and I had worked with, who's a good friend, Phil Gordon, if you're out there. Hello, Phil Gordon.
Hello, Mr. Phil Gordon.
Everyone, his website is I Hate Phil. Anyways, so he shoots a lot of trucks, mini trucks, lowriders, that sort of stuff. And I had met him actually at my very first out-of-town car show when I was like 22. And we had shot and stuff like that. And he ended up being at another show later on and meeting Lacey and convincing her to shoot when she first kind of started shooting, I think. And he hit me up and he was like, I met someone that's just like you. Like, you guys would be friends. And so just, I guess, through just the mix of the automotive world and all that kind of stuff, Lacey and I just knew of each other and kind of like, you know, connected here and there, but never had actually like met up until I worked with you guys. So actually I met her for the first time when I was in Houston, like back in the summer.
You did the girls trucking.
Yeah, the girl trucking. Right. Yeah. So we were like, what? Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I think it was the relationship that you and Lacey had. I think, you know, you on the outside, like, just a little perspective historically. Like, GEORJAH and I kind of tried to do some stuff back in 2017. And I don't think we were ready. GEORJAH wasn't ready. Back in 2017, Renegade was basically just, it was still an infant. It was about a year old.
Yeah.
We maybe had only like, I don't know, 6 bottles to our name or something like that. Like a couple of metal polishes or maybe a metal polish. You know, the basics, you know, a wash, a spray wax, and the little basic, you know, parts of a line. And you know, like hardly anybody really knew who we were. And that's not to say like GEORJAH was like, you know, she just was in a different environment than we were. And we were trying to tiptoe into the lowrider scene being here in Southern California. Obviously, that's just all around us. And we felt like, wow, it would be just like phenomenal to bite off on that. And we still want to do that. And that's one of the reasons why GEORJAH and ourselves are partnering up. But I just kind of felt at the time, just just the chemistry wasn't there.
Timing wasn't right. Like I was on, at that time in 2017, I was on kind of already a tour with another, not company, but a vehicle. And so I was already kind of committed and like kind of set in my sort of thing. I already kind of had an idea of what the rest of my season was going to look like. And I was like, do I have the time to even like bring on something else into this? Is that going to work for me? What does that look like? And so it just didn't work out. And it just kind of like, I don't know, like I always kind of watched what you guys were doing and saw what you were doing, but I just kind of like left it, like, you know, whatnot. Yeah. And I think that you kind of were in the same sort of thing. You kind of like left it, just like watched a bit and like saw where I was going and what I was going to be up to.
Yeah, and we kind of did the same thing. We ended up going, I mean, obviously our one of our big markets, and still probably is our biggest market, is only the big rig market. And that's still a big part of what we do, and the shows and the outreach and our advertising, everything really has a lot to do with that scene. But it wasn't until really we started getting into the lifted scene, which really in earnest didn't start happening until our first real lifted show. Although we did Daytona in the summer of 2018 as kind of like a trial run. We got a booth and we set up, and you know everything was fine. We had, I think, and I wasn't the one that even did that. It was a couple other team members here, but it was like, it's where we met Monsters of the South and Pleasant 4x4 Barbie, just park our vehicle in our booth at that time. And it wasn't really until late fall, but actually almost like late winter, that we even started considering taking a hard crack at the lifted scene. And the next one, I think this was probably like late November, early December. It's okay, like when's the next one? And it was going to be LST 19. And that's when we really just kind of like, okay, fine, let's do it, and just try to figure out if this market makes sense for us.
I think it worked quite well for you guys. Like, and I think it like built you built almost like a community. I would like to call it, like with the girls and like, you know, the people in that environment and whatnot. And I feel like you've kind of like solidified your place in that lifted sort of market.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, it's allowed us also to understand more of what's going on as far as, you know, auto detail. Like, we're not in the classic scene, we're not in the exotic scene, where we're not really in the...
You could be, though.
We could be, and that could be... We've traditionally gone, you know, niche by niche, as I've told you before. So big rigs, and it was, you know, desert racing, and kind of lifted almost at the same time in two different new avenues of business for us. But it allowed us to really identify more of what the market needs, as opposed to like, okay, do we really need another this or another that? It was like, okay, we need paint polishes, and we need, you know, degreasers, and we need, you know, brake dust removers, and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. And that allowed us to move forward, and, you know, at a faster pace within the marketplace. And it was really, and you know this because, you know, that's one of the primary reasons you know we're together is. The world has changed substantially in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and you know, Instagram or social media in general at one time was, you know, trying to show people how great your cheesecake looks at the Cheesecake Factory. Give me my likes. And I think it was at some point in the big run-up of Instagram that I think a lot of influencers, as we call them now, decided, well, you know, just a bunch of likes don't mean anything. They don't put any peanut butter on the table at the end of the day. And that's when I think the whole world, including us, realized that the way to go to market is by branding and working with influencers. And that really is kind of what touched it off in early 2019. We had rolled into shows prior to that and just hired local talent. Just, you know, basically, I'll call them ladies or girls, just, you know, just, hey, you know, just come hang out at the booth. And, you know, we always felt that, you know, local attractive talent helps to both beautify the booth, get some attention, definitely, but also if I'm busy talking to some potential client or customer or dealer, that at least somebody's there to pass out a flyer or a catalog. And that worked out okay, except that, you know, the problem, the downside of that, like the influencer or the girl would go home, the model would go home, and that ends the relationship, as opposed to like working with GEORJAH or Lacey, where there is like a vested interest in both of us knowing each other, and then you participating in the actual branding and marketing. And that's why we like you.
Well, I mean, it's it's a realistic, it's a believable, it's an honest, take when you're having someone that's from the actual industry using your product. And the fact that, you're having someone come along that is going to continue to use their product because they're not just some, one car in the driveway to get me to A to B or doesn't take pride in their vehicle. Whereas like for someone like Lacey or myself or any of these other girls now, we take pride in our stuff. It's important to us to, make sure that they're clean or they're, using your product or in what way to, and learning about your product and all that kind of stuff. So it definitely is a better investment long-term to have people that are,
that are partnering for the long term.
Long-term that have knowledge of the industry and knowledge of the vehicles and knowledge of what to do and how to use it and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. So totally. I learned actually a lot about GEORJAH just by virtue of reading the questions that people post up for you that you share on your Instagram.
Yeah.
But like for some of the people that may not be as familiar with what you are and how you got here, just I don't know if you can give us like a brief recap of like what makes GEORJAH. Like what is it?
Okay, so I didn't come from a car family. I didn't come from like anything sort of automotive related. Like I didn't grow up wrenching on cars with my dad. I came from I grew up on a farm, rode horses, competed heavily in the horse industry. Like I rode on the hunter jumper circuit, so like the show jumping and things like that. I still own my show horse, Domingo. People think that the car industry is expensive. Like try getting involved in the horse industry. It's ridiculous. Like they say if you want to be a millionaire with horses, you start with 10 million and you work your way down.
Yeah, wow.
Because it's ridiculous. But anyways, long story short, that's here nor there. And then I was super into art as a youngster too. Like I was like a super art nerd. I started art club in high school. I just started like heavily focusing into like other things that I haven't painted that much. Like I have stuff at home still here and there that I mess around with, but not as a lot. But I do all like my own designs for my brand now. And
there's a function of time, you just don't have enough time for it.
Time, space. Like I find like if I wanted to paint like I want to be like messy and like do my art. I don't want to I need like a setup. Anyways, that's here nor there. But so I was a really misfit kid in high school and whatnot. And so I always kind of appreciated the cars. The area I'm from has a huge hot rod scene and it's really big. Represent Langley, BC. Representing. But anyways, so I always saw lots of the cars and stuff like that, but I never was really involved. And so then when I met Tyler, who I'm now married to, he had a old lowrider sitting beside his shop at the house, and I was about 18 or 19, and I had nothing to drive, and it was insured because he had a truck, and he was like, do you want to drive that? And I was like, okay, sure.
Well, that's very gracious of him.
Right, very nice, and because I need to get to work and I need to do, and I just fell in love. I was like, this is the thing. And so, because people always ask me oh, why do you have a Lincoln tattoo? You don't have a Lincoln, but the Lincoln, it was my first sort of lowrider experience. And
was it a fully decked out?
No, it really wasn't. It was just a lowered. It didn't have hydraulics. It was just on wires, and it was just slammed on the ground, static drops.
What does that mean to the audience on wires? What is it?
So wire wheels. Wire wheels.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was just on some 13-inch wire wheels and stock paint, had a sound system in it, and I just was happy mobbing around in that, and it worked for me, and I was like, this is great, I need to still do this. And started kind of
that's when you I guess got the bug, I guess.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And I started really feeling I needed to do more with it, and the people that were around were really I feel this is any show scene. It's a bunch of people that may not necessarily have ever met or been friends before, but this one thing has kind of brought them together. So it gave me this sort of space to fit in when I didn't really fit in sort of anywhere else. And it allowed me to kind of have my sort of art side of me and like channel that into my vehicle.
Gotcha.
So that's where kind of like the lowriding kind of worked so well for me, because it's so, you know, family oriented, art oriented, that sort of thing, that just drew me in even more.
So what's the misconception on the lowrider scene? Like, you know, like you think about like, you know, gangster rap. And is that just kind of like is that just marketing really?
Oh my gosh, so much. I feel like, I mean, any true lowrider will tell you that like that whole gang image is just like not at all what it's about. Like, and I think that that really comes from like the music videos and what you see in the movies and what it just gets portrayed as, and like, you know, gang members and all this kind of stuff. So it has this like bad reputation when people don't realize that it's really not like that at all. Like,
that's interesting.
And so it, like in the beginning, like even my own parents, they had no idea about it. They were like, what in the world are you doing? Like, what is happening?
You're going dark, basically. You're going to be a bad girl.
Yeah, like, and so, but then they started realizing like what it was actually about and what it was like when they came out to a couple car shows and things like that. And I was like, look, like, this is how it is. I mean, our scene in Canada isn't huge by any means. We get maybe 100 cars out in, like, when cars, I mean lowriders, but like, out at like one time maybe at the most.
But if it was like a tuner scene, nobody would have batted an eye type of thing.
No, and the tuner scene's huge. Yeah. Where we're at, the hot rod scene, like I mentioned, like it's really big. Like we have a lot of really nice vehicles in our area, but yeah, the lowrider scene, even in the custom car community, to other like the old hot rodder type guys, they're like look down, they're like lowriders, like
really,
oh, yeah. But it's starting. I find that like in the last, especially a few years, it's getting more and more respect, just because it's starting to become more known that it's not. It's the image of it being pushed to be.
Let's go. All the rappers moved on to G-Wagons and Bentleys.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Pretty much, yeah. So it's started to kind of come around in this more of a. It has a better. I think it has the reputation of it's getting better. Lowrider Magazine did a series on YouTube called Lowrider Role Models, where they took people that, you know, doctors or, you know, firefighters or whoever that were heavily involved with the lowrider industry, but they were also doing, you know, their regular day job was something that was extremely respectable.
Sure.
Or they were business owners or whatever, professionals, yeah. And it really showed a side of lowriding that I think opened up the eyes to a lot of people, for a lot of people on what it really was and is.
Well, you know, the level of, and that's what attracts us to that market, is just the high level of detail and commitment to the vehicle.
Yeah.
Not only the actual art that goes into it, but, you know, obviously the guys and the gals that own these incredible vehicles. I mean, from our perspective, I'm sure they want to keep those things as clean as possible.
Gang members or whatever you want to call it, like people that are not great in this in society, they don't have time to put in to build these cars that like they don't have that for this. So I find that like when people realize how much detail goes into these and effort and time and pride and
money, really.
And money.
They're not cheap.
Oh my gosh. They'll leave us poor forever.
Yeah. Well, give the audience an idea. Like if somebody, you know, happens to get lucky and find a beat up relic from the late 60s or 70s, to get that to show quality, like what's involved and how much money is.
Oh my gosh, like the dollar amount, like you could almost say it could be unlimited depending on what you wanted to
customization,
to do to it, because it like are you gonna have engraving? Are you not going? Are you just gonna chrome it? Do you want it to be gold instead of chrome? Like what level of paint do you want? Do you want pinstriping? Do you want, you know, patterns? Does it need flake? Is it just a stock color? Because everybody has
just the outside.
Yeah, everybody has their own sort of take on how they want it to look and, you know, what level they want to get it to. But I mean, and then you think about a lot of these cars, guys are pulling them out of fields now because they can't find them anywhere else.
Right.
And even that, it's hard to find it out of a field, and they're rotten. Like, they don't have floors in them or anything, and they're having to build them from the ground up because there's nothing left of them.
Hey, so it was a graveyard that was on your story once over there.
Which one?
Really? Wow.
I like hunting. I like hunting for vehicles. I'm the one that will like show up and like knock on people's doors all the time and be like, "Hey, you want to sell me that?" Like, because you never know what's out there. There's one Impala that's in my hometown that this guy's had in his backyard for like the last it hasn't moved for like 30 years.
And he's just holding on to it?
And he will not sell it to me for the life of him.
No, kid.
He has 3 of them. I don't understand. I'm like, but that one, I want it. Anyways, yeah, no. And it turns out I found out one day that I went to school with his kids because I knocked on the door and because nobody was living at the house and the kids opened the door and they were like, wait a sec, because I was leaving notes in their mailbox. They're like, it's you? And I was like, it's me. It's you? I was like, can you please talk to your dad for me? They're like, okay, well, maybe one day we'll let you know.
What's it got, like a sentimental value?
I have no idea. No idea. It's just been there for an eternity. It's not like he's building it.
So when
if you're out there, John, and you're watching this, which you probably aren't.
Come on, John.
Sell me.
We need a project called.
Sell me your 62 Impala. I don't know. I want it. Yeah. One time I bought a. So there's this Cutlass that was sitting around the corner from where I was living, and it was kind of like in a bush, kind of half like in the weeds. So the guy was out mowing his lawn one day, and I showed up in my Cutlass, and I was like, "Hey, you want to sell me that Cutlass?" He's like, "What are you going to do with it?" I'm like, "I'm going to make it look like that one." And he's like, "Well, okay." I was like, "How much do you want for it?" And I thought for sure he was going to like hit me with like a few $100s or something. He's like, $80. I was like, okay, no problem.
Wow, yeah.
Now, granted that it was like really rotten and it was messed up, so I parted it out mostly and then
I gotcha.
Scrapped the rest of it, made way more of my money back. But yeah, $80. That was like probably one of my best, my best random finds.
So, but those are really select. Like even like in SoCal, which is one of the largest areas for this the scene. That's like almost impossible to find something, I would imagine, in Southern California.
Oh my gosh. Like, it's just becoming more and more rare to find anything that's like just sitting that someone's willing to sell. And because people are finding them and buying them and offering more money for them because they're starting to be being less and less of, anything from G bodies to Impalas, like the price on them are going up because there's so much less of them.
Are there like types of lowrider vehicles that are like brands that are more desirable than others, like an Impala versus like a Continental, for example?
I feel like Chevy and GM definitely is like the end all and be all for vehicles in the lowrider industry. I mean, you're going to see the odd Ford, you're going to see Lincoln is part of Ford, so you're going to see the odd one here and there. You're going to see the odd like something or other that someone's done, like they felt like doing, but it's rare.
Not as desirable.
It's really not as desirable.
It's almost like a Dino's thing. Like it's almost a Chevy only type of.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Where you're going to just get majority of everything being Chevy. So yeah, like that's kind of how it's been. But yeah, finding things now and then finding things for cheap now because everything the value it's blown up in the last even just year. It's been insane. So, I mean. So
is that basically, that was some of the shops too. They'll find these things, turn them into works of art and just sell them essentially?
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah.
Collectors, I would imagine, or maybe even investors
yeah,
at this point.
At this point, I mean, what used to be like, and I mean, obviously a stock, restored, pristine vehicle is going to fetch a higher dollar than something that has been overly customized. But even the stuff that's, because with hydraulics and lowriders, that you have to cut certain things and it's not so desirable. But
so basically, is just keep it as turning it into essentially just restoring.
Restoring is gonna bring high dollars. But some of the restoration on these vehicles, like if you're going to do it properly, it's going to cost you so much too. Like part of the, like I had I was supposed to build a 59 Impala, and everyone asks me about it still. Sorry, everyone.
Can we ask you about the 59 Impala?
Yeah, you want to know about the 59 Impalas? So everyone's like, you still got the 59? So I was like, no, because I had, I like to say 2.5, because one of them was a 4-door, so it doesn't really count. So I had 2 of them that I was going to make into one, and I just decided I bought them in 2016 or something like that. And so I had them for 4 years. I just was collecting parts. I came out here and got some parts for them and this and that. And I came to terms with the fact that the build of them was it was ridiculous for the amount of money that was going to have to go into them and everything like that. So I just decided, I was like, you know what? This isn't my time to be building this. Mm-hmm. And I let them go, and it was really rough. Like it was a hard decision.
Do you know where they are? I mean, you gave them an option. Do you know where they are and what happened to them?
I do know where they are.
Oh, how'd they come out?
They're not. They're sitting.
They're still somewhere.
Yeah, they're sitting. Yeah, they're sitting probably 20 minutes from where I live. In just sitting beside a barn.
Well, that's kind of strange.
The guy that bought them, don't listen if you're watching, he buys a lot of other people's projects. That's what I was told. So I don't know him personally, but he purchases other stuff, but he has so many other projects going on. So I don't know when the time is that he's going to actually schedule them in. They are a high value car, so owning them is never going to really depreciate. But I don't know if they're going to get built.
You have a question of going back and buying it from him, or is just the price too crazy right now?
Prices are too crazy right now.
He just knows what he's got, basically. Huh?
He 100% knows what he has. There are certain parts out of them that I wish that I kept. The only thing that I did keep from them was I had a speaker grill that goes into the rear seat in the center, in the back, and I now am using that. I had no plans on using it. I just decided, I was like, I'm just going to keep this part out of everything. So I had doubles and triples of parts and stuff for the build, and I kept that one thing, and I'm now using it in my mini truck build. So I feel like everything happens for a reason, kind of, because if I never had sold the 59s, I wouldn't be building a mini truck right now.
And that's a good segue into the mini truck world.
Yeah.
What's up with mini trucks? Are those two different worlds, or are they really closer than one thing?
When you say two different worlds, you're meaning low riding and mini trucking?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so mini trucking has been around, forever too, and I feel like it almost goes hand in hand because it's lowered vehicles. They're on a custom suspension.
What's the definition? We were just at Dino's Get Down this past weekend, and we saw some incredible
full size, a lot of full size trucks.
But also a lot of smaller things too. Is there a crossover or not particularly?
I feel like mini truck, if we're gonna be by definition, it's gonna be non full size trucks, lowered, custom suspension. Usually it's stuff that's similar to lowriding, where you have custom paint, custom suspension. They do interior things like that.
But that's not specific to brand at that point.
But no, mini trucks are very different, because you're going to get imports like Toyotas, Mazdas, that sort of thing. And then you're also going to get domestic, where you're going to have Chevy S10s and stuff like that. But a lot of it's the older stuff. People do.
Older is better.
Older is always better. Come on. So. Yeah, for myself, I'm building a Toyota.
Right, so you get some of the old Datsuns or something like that.
Yeah, and so mini trucking is a little bit more, I would say, relaxed in style for build. There's so many different more styles in the way people build things, or they'll bring things out that are not 100% complete yet. Whereas in lowriding, you don't see guys bringing their cars out half done, that are not finished or things like that.
I'm just curious because obviously for someone like you, the time is such a premium, and if you're already so involved in the lowrider scene, why would you devote time to something outside of that scene? What's the rationale for that? It's like, yeah, I've got a certain number of hours in the day or the week. I'm going to devote it to building that Impala versus, now I'm going to do the mini truck.
Budget. And no offense to anybody watching, but it's a lot cheaper to build a mini truck than it is to build an Impala. A lot cheaper.
Okay.
But it never really came down to budget. Like, I kind of like doing things that are like people aren't going to expect of me.
Something different.
That was also part of the deciding factor in selling the Impalas, was that Impala, like, I love Impalas. Don't get me wrong. A 59 Impala is still my dream car, but a lot of people have them, and I was like, I need to do something. Like, I don't want to be the same.
Like brand building, essentially. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, branching out. Yeah. But I did have some people come at me and be like, "Oh, you're building a mini truck now? You're not a lowrider." And I was like, "Really? Like, come on." But that definitely isn't the case. I feel like it's good to be multifaceted. It's good to have other interests. It's good to be well-rounded and versed. And just because I like one thing doesn't mean it's like, just because I like apples doesn't mean that I'm not going to like oranges.
Sure.
Because you can't compare the two.
So when did the decision happen to do the mini truck world?
So I sold the Impalas, and like basically a month later, this truck was sitting on Craigslist, and nobody uses Craigslist anymore. So basically, Tyler had hit this guy up asking about it because it was close by, and never went to see it. And then came to me 2 weeks later and was like, "Hey, so you like mini trucks, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "So if you were to build one, what would you do?" And I was like, "Probably a Toyota." And he's like, "Okay, so there's this one that's on Craigslist right now." And the guy just hit me up and he said he needs it gone. And I was like, okay.
How long ago was that?
This was 2020. So this was like, I couldn't get out of Canada. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was stuck there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wasn't traveling. I was like, I don't have a project. I just have so I was like, okay. He's like, I was like, let's just go take a look at it. This was probably like May-ish of 2020. I sold the Impalas in April of 2020. And
like right away, almost. Like,
yeah, 1 or 2 months later.
Hardly any downtime to do any morning.
I know, right? I had to have a rebound,
So, yeah, that was your rebound.
And so we went to go look at this truck, and this guy that had it, he got it off the lot in like 89. It is in 89, but he got it in 89 or 90. Got it off the dealership lot, drove it for like a year and a half, and then decided he wanted to build a mini truck. So he took it all apart, started doing all sorts of stuff to it, and then it sat in storage. So it had no rust on it. It was just taken all apart.
Sweet. Oh, nice.
And
that's all like something. That's something I would.
He had another vehicle as well, like an old hot rod, and him and his wife were having a baby, and they were moving. And anyways, he had this truck since he was like 16 or whatever, and he had done next to nothing with it. And
he just ran out of time.
It ran out of time, and his wife was like, "We're moving. You can bring one vehicle with it, like of your two project, like because we don't have the space. Like, bring one." And so he chose that the mini truck was going to go. And that's when I came into play. So I threw him an offer. He took it. And I swear to goodness, he was going to cry when we loaded it up on the trailer and I took it home. So
I think he was going to cry because he knew how much work you had to do on it. He was crying.
Probably. I told him he could come and visit it anytime he wanted to, so that's fine. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. My bad. I told him he could come and visit it, and I think that he was also cried a little bit inside when I told him that I was going to make it pink. So, yeah, so his wife, his daughter, and him all came out to say goodbye to the truck when I took it away.
So it's still, like, I know that you're still in the initial stages of that. I mean, are you doing having to do a lot of fab work? Because I know you and Tyler do a lot of fab work.
Yeah.
You have a fab shop. So, like, where are you in the whole project right now?
Okay, so the frame is essentially, I don't want to say done, because if I say done, then it's definitely not close to done. It's a full custom frame. So the frame that was under the truck originally, the guy had started doing like what's called a C-notch in the back to help it sit lower. And Tyler especially did not like the way that it was done. It was done in the early 90s. It was very old. So we threw the entire frame out and built a fresh, brand new one. And then I had like a Watts link supplied from GSI Machine and Fabrication. Thank you, Scott. And put that in, so that helps keep like the rear end of the truck centered in the back. So basically right now the truck came off the fab table, where the frame was, the jig table, and it went on the ground, bodies on it, and then now we're probably going to put it back on the table so we can start mocking everything up so that it can be proper. The seat for the truck's done. I just got a dash, so I just mentioned prior I was sad about not keeping parts from the Impalas. One of the parts that I was really kicking myself about was I didn't keep an extra dash from the Impala to put in, like, because I wanted to put it into this.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
So what we ended up doing was sourcing out a parts car. It took a while to find, and bringing that, and we cut out an Impala dash, and we're putting that into the Toyota. So we're going to have to section it because the Impala is so much wider than the truck is. And basically, I'm taking all my Impala ideas and putting them into this mini truck. So the seat is a miniature Impala seat. The door panels are going to be done. The dash is going to be an Impala dash. It's going to have hydraulics. Just really casual. But it sits on the ground. It has what's called a body drop. So you raise the floor up, you cut the floor out and raise it up. So it sits even lower. I mean, for lack of a better term, like the roof line is like at my boobs. So it's really low. But that's what I like.
That's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be super cool. So I'm hoping, if Renegade will be nice enough to let me have a spot for SEMA in 2022, that the Toyota will be at SEMA.
Well, that would be hot.
That would be pretty great. Right. I mean, you have all this lifted stuff. I feel like we need something low in the mix.
Sure, yeah. We were happy that Tina threw in her Jeep. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right there. We had, the 5 lifted vehicles. And
we could park my truck underneath someone's truck.
Yeah, no kidding. But Athena's was relatively, being a 2-door Jeep. It just honestly looked out of place, but it was definitely.
It was smaller than everything else that was around it. It made it look tiny.
Yeah, we'll be doing a few different things next year at SEMA, so I'm glad that'll be a good option for us.
That's the plan. That's my deadline that I've kind of given myself for the truck. SEMA, I'm hoping that it could maybe come out sooner, if possible, but I don't also want to rush it because I don't want things to be missed or forgotten or not done properly. I feel
if there's a certain measure of building, or customizing and building. I think goes beyond just the end game of having it complete. There's got to be some great joy and pleasure in seeing together. For sure.
And it's funny because a lot of people have asked me if I'm going to do a rendering of the truck. Because a lot of the SEMA builds will do a rendering so that everyone knows what it's going to look like when it's finished and this and that. And part of me is yeah, I do. And then the other part of me is I don't want to do that just because it's almost part of the surprise. It's kind of seeing it all come together and it's almost an exciting part of the process. I said process like an American live. Did you catch that? I normally say process, but that was I was faking it for you. So yeah, it's part of it all to have it come together. Because doing a build like this, it's not just grabbing parts and throwing them in and there's you're done, and changing the wheels or whatever. This is
a flip or something. It was you just back or something.
This is a one-off type of thing that everything is being done custom on it and being changed and it's not a wrap. It's getting painted, everything like that. So yeah, it's exciting. It's really, but it's rewarding.
We look forward to seeing it. Hopefully you get it done before SEMA, but if you don't, we look forward to GEORJAH's version of SEMA Crunch.
Zebra Crunch, yeah. We can compare Lacey and I's photos of like overtired and underpaid, you know, like
wow.
Exhaustion.
I think a lot of people also, I know many of them, by virtue of kind of what happened with your Instagram account, and maybe I'll have you go through that in a minute.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But GEORJAH also is a brand. And not just GEORJAH, but she's also a brand. She's when did you start up GEORJAH Limited? As far as was it mostly apparel at the beginning, or what was that all about? What was thinking of getting GEORJAH as a brand out into the market?
How far back do you want me to go?
Well, I don't know. You want to go Big Bang? How far back do you want to go?
Okay, so throwback. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know this. So the very first time, like people had harassed me to do posters, things like that, stickers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember 2017 at the tourist show.
Back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I kind of I did a run of posters when I was touring with Hoppos and had them at their booth and whatnot, and that was all fine, but I never had done anything really online. And then at the very end of 2016, I got my Cutlass impounded. And so I was three-wheeling in a parking lot, and it's super illegal, and the cops didn't like it. So like 4 cop cars and 8 cops showed up for a blonde girl three-wheeling in a parking lot. But that's here nor there.
Why all my blonde girls, they have problems with the
law?
Horses, yeah.
Breaking the law.
Like Lacey can't drive because she's got like 15 tickets across 10 states or something like that.
Oh my God. It's wild. Anyways, so you have a type. Blondes, glasses that are reckless. So anyways, I
big teeth.
got my car impounded for 9 days, and I was freaking out because I not only was devastated that my car was not with me, it was in an impound lot. It was a huge bill. Yeah, I was freaking out. Anyways, shout out to the guy at the tow yard that knew who I was and sent me a message and offered me to put a car cover on it and stuff. That was nice. He let me into the yard. But anyways, I was panicking and I was like, oh my gosh. And a friend was like, you should start selling some of your stuff online. And I was like, oh, I don't know. So I ended up doing a run of posters as like a free George's Cutlass like thing. and sold posters online to pay for my bill to get the car out.
Bail it out, huh?
To bail it out of jail. Yeah. And then it was so successful, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do this more.
And that silver lining in that whole
right? Everything happens for a reason, huh? You gotta make what's that term? It's something about, gold out of shit. I don't know. Anyways, so that was kind of my first dabbling in it and like seeing kind of what it was like. I didn't have a website at that time or anything. And then I knew kind of, I was like, okay, so start researching this and going with it and all that. And as time progressed, I just kind of kept doing it, and a little bit more happened, and I learned how to make this and that, and trial and error with different manufacturers and companies to create products.
Was it still posters at that time?
No, it ended up being like sticker. It started being, then went into some stickers, and then
2017 at the tourist show when we were together. I think I only saw posters in it.
Yeah, I think at that time, because it was just easy to, like, I knew. And then I think right after I had met you, that's when I started, like, being like, okay, I need to figure out how to do a sticker. I need to figure out how to do, and then it branched into air fresheners. And then, and then I was like, oh, I should probably start doing this, that, and the other. So it all just started snowballing and more and more and more. And then at the end of 2019, I was like humming and hawing and like on what I was doing, like where I was going to go with it. And now it kind of almost was at the point where I was like, am I really doing this? Or am I like, is this just am I really going to do this? So, I'm sorry, it wasn't the end of 2019. It was at the end of 2020. Like it was the fall of 2020.
A year ago.
Mm-hmm. I was working at an auto body shop, and like that did custom paint on vehicles and stuff. And I was helping them with their branding and ordering their stuff. And my stuff was it was doing well. And then I finally decided, I was like, you know what? Like, This is like a now or never. Like so I pulled everything off of my online thing. I told everyone that everything was disappearing, which it did. And I relaunched Georgia Limited January of 2021.
Was it called something different then?
No, it was just Georgia before. I like made it more official. I just decided to, be a little more, being a little more, well, everything I do is limited edition.
Gotcha.
I do like once it's gone, get it. And we're moving on. Like, so I decided like, okay, like let's really do this. And so January 1st, I launched everything and it just kind of went and people were stoked and happy and wanted to support it. And I was like, okay, like let's do this. Like,
had you done any apparel by then?
Yeah, I had done apparel, like little bits of it here and there, like small runs of stuff that I had brought to shows or whatnot. And then I had done a little bit with the company that I currently have printing my apparel. I had done some in the fall of 2020 with him and whatnot, but I decided like to completely, because I design everything myself. So I completely designed a whole new line, like with the logos and everything like that, and how I wanted it all to look.
But still as a limited edition.
Yeah. So once, and I did it as like the spring collection kind of, and got it all sorted onto the site, and then launched it on January 1st. And it went all the way until about June, and then I like pulled everything, and those are all gone, and I relaunched a whole new set of stuff out in end of May, beginning of June for like summer. And so it's been kind of just going since then, and I've just been adding in some new designs as I've sort of like felt the need to, or sometimes I get a creative bug and I just want to make this, that, and the other, and then I'm like, you know what, I like this so much, I want to like get it out there right now.
Totally. So leveraging your persona, your Instagram, or your persona industry, or your following, who you are in the whole scene, leveraging that and turning it into an actual brand. I think it's for those that want to be a brand, especially in this environment. I don't want to say it makes it a lot easier, but there is actually the opportunity now that didn't exist maybe even as recently as like half a dozen years ago.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and you're a testimony to that, is like there is still, regardless of who you are in the scene, at the end of the day, it's still just good old fashioned hard work, hustle. Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't work unless you do, honestly, and it's the damn truth. Like, the greatest advice I could give to anyone in doing their own thing is you gotta push it. You gotta believe in your own shit. And you have to not be afraid
promote
to tell people about your stuff and scream it from the rooftops constantly. And as annoying as you think that you're gonna be, you have to continue to be annoying. Like,
no, definitely.
Because nobody's going to know about your stuff unless you're yelling at them about it.
Exactly. And that's the whole nature of, marketing and advertising that's been going on for decades, if not centuries, really. Maybe more amplified now because of all the, we all see social media ads that come across our feeds, but that's really, you're doing something that's just not really, it's just on a micro level. And you're right. It's for those guys and gals out there that want their own brand and support their own brand, the opportunity is there. But I think people need to realize you just have to be prepared to hustle and to work it and to promote it and marketing. And that's the thing where a lot of people don't either understand that or they kind of like they just go sideways because either they lose their attention span on it. They feel self-conscious about, I don't want to be seen as like marketing, although
like some people have a hard time with like being like, you can be humble and still scream about your name.
Totally, yeah.
And you can still do the things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have an ego or that you're like full of yourself because you're pushing your own stuff. But yeah, like a lot of people will find that they feel discouraged because it doesn't take off right away. And people go, oh, you blew up so fast. And I'm like, I've been doing this for the last like 10 years. Yeah. And they just didn't see all those times before. And they didn't
behind the scenes.
Yeah. And you don't see the times when, there's weeks that you don't get paid Like,
Sure.
and you don't make anything because you weren't screaming enough about your stuff, you know?
It really is the purpose of it. I think a lot of people, like getting back to the early part of our podcast, of our conversation, where people are, it's still, I think, in the back of their mind thinking that my Instagram or my Facebook or my Snap or even TikTok at this point, that's supposed to be a reflection of me. But really, it is. But unless you're using it for something, it's kind of like you're just wasting your time. Because like if you're not taking, that energy and that time and that effort, and we all know how time consuming it is mentally, emotionally, physically to create content. And I gotta tell you, if you're not using that to promote yourself and your brand and to find a way to monetize it, honestly, you're just we're all vain, don't get me wrong, but if the sum total of everything you're doing is just to collect, likes and comments, then you're just wasting your time.
At the end of the day, I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I don't mean it in a negative sense, but on social media, you're either a consumer or a business. Mm-hmm. You're using it one or the other ways. Yeah, okay, it's fun, it's this and that, whatever. You're connecting with people. But if you're just using it to connect with people and look at things or whatever, you're a consumer. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the marketing that other people are putting out there.
That's right.
And whether or not you like it, unless you're making money off of whatever you're putting out there, you're a consumer on the internet. And anyone can, if they want to, utilize what's out there to make it happen. You just have to be willing to make it happen.
Yeah, you have to be willing, and you have to cast aside, I think, the notions or even the self-reflection, like, oh, am I bugging people that I'm promoting myself or you're already promoting yourself. If you're on Instagram or social or anything, you're already promoting. You just have to be promoting yourself.
Yeah.
For sometimes just for the like, which is worthless. Mm-hmm. But you might as well go all the way. If you're going to be promoting, you promote for a reason. Market. Mm-hmm. You should be marketing and promoting.
And there's nothing wrong with if you don't want to be doing that. If you want to just use your social media. If you want to just use your social media to not buy or sell anything, still know there's people out there. They're trying to sell you something on it. Right. But there's nothing wrong.
Well, it's a marketplace.
It's a marketplace. And it's the same reason why, when I first started, when I relaunched my brand, I started just jumping onto all sorts of different things online about marketing, just because I wanted to kind of just read some other opinions, things like that, and see what was out there and everything. And I was everyone will tell you, I was the first person to make fun of TikTok. I was the one that was
look at me.
I will never get TikTok. And here I am, 500,000 people later on TikTok. And it sent a whole bunch of people to my Instagram, which then sent a bunch of people to my website. It's free marketing, so utilize it, right?
It's all connected, yeah. What you do with that and how you, especially, I'll look at the Renegade products page on Instagram. We're just a products page. We will never be 500,000 followers or something like that, because people know at the end of the day, no matter how beautiful bottles, beautiful trucks, even beautiful ladies with trucks, at the end of the day, I'm going to stick a bottle in your face and say, buy this. Mm-hmm. But by partnering with people like yourself that are in the different scenes that are important to us, which that really allows for the collaborations of brand and influencer management together. I think that's really, collaboration. I think you're a perfect example of that. I mean, the people that you have worked with in the past, that you work with now, that you work with in the future, all contribute in one way or another to what GEORJAH and GEORJAH Limited is and moves you forward.
Yeah.
Definitely. So again, the advice is to everybody. It's you're right, GEORJAH is correct. If you want to be, just somebody enjoying your time on Instagram, or any of the socials, sure, knock yourself up. But just realize that really social media is just a modern day version of buying a magazine on the shelf or watching a TV channel in that commercial. It's just that's what it's all about. Well,
most people nowadays, they put on they put on a TV in the background, but they sit there and they scroll their Instagram.
Sure.
They don't even watch TV anymore, and so that is that's where brands are going to go to advertise, because nobody watches the commercials on TV anymore.
Nope.
They fast forward through them. They hit the skip button.
Yeah.
So why not use what people are actually looking at?
Right. And now with the whole world going towards more of the meta virtual reality world, when Georgia is in British Columbia and I'm in California, and we put on our goggles and we meet in some kind of common virtual marketplace sponsored by. That's what it is. That's where it's going to keep going in that direction.
Yeah, for sure. There's, only time will tell, right, Robbie?
Yeah. So what is going on in Georgia's life? What's going on for 2022? Do you have a feel for it yet?
Oh my gosh, 2022 already looks like it's going to be crazy. I mean, I'm getting emails left, right, and center about this event, that event, and the other. So we're going to see what happens, what can fit into the schedule. I know I will be out at a lot of events next year. Next year's going to be kind of more full swing than this year. This year, even though coming down for these large chunks of time to, visit and do shows and this and that, has been feeling like very full on. I feel like next year's going to this is just like tiptoeing into it. So what, did we formally invite you to LST and you formally accepted to join us, or we still got to squeeze your Is this where the people are going to hear it first?
Yeah. Where are we with LST? So I want to put you on the record. You're going to be with us?
Am I on the record right now? Is this the record? What? What's our debut album going to be called? The record? Okay, anyway, sorry. LST 2022.
2022.
Georgia.
You got to bring the
Renegade.
Down?
Oof.
No way.
Maybe.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Never know. You just never know.
You know what? I would love to bring the Cutlass down. So maybe we'll make it happen if Texas can keep their shit together with the weather.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
if it snows, I am going back to Canada.
Yeah, we were worried that it snowed right before LSC this year, and
I know.
Was really wondering if that was going to even happen. To be honest with you,
I am the first to tell you that I'm the worst Canadian of all time, because if I see snow, I would much rather go the opposite direction. That's not happening.
Okay. Georgia, tell us about your misadventures with Instagram and what's happened to your main account. So you've got two accounts, Georgia Limited right now.
Yeah.
What is available for viewing, and that's mostly your business account.
That was the original plan. So I had the two accounts. I had Georgia, just as my name. I was pretty excited because I finally was able to just have just my name as the thing, all right? So no underscores or nothing. But, and then I had Georgia Limited for just other people that had posted up with my stuff, or, wearing the shirts, or new stuff coming to the site. Anything that I wanted to promote that I didn't want to completely harass people on my main page, I could put on that page too, right?
Yeah, and Lacey does something.
Yeah, she has something with her, her brand. And so I was like, okay, this works well. Anyways, so my account was wonderful, doing great, and loved interacting with everybody.
To give you an idea, when George and I first started talking at the beginning of this year, right? Mm-hmm. Was that the beginning of this year? Is that what I'm thinking?
It was I think it was the beginning of this year. It was right around LST time, because you were like, oh, I wish you could come to LST with us this weekend.
So I think she only had a few thousand followers.
Yeah, there was 15,000 on the account. Just because, backstory to everyone, I had an account prior, decided to delete it because it was a big account. It was rounding its way to 100,000, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm on the same page as everybody that's here, because the people that were following it, I felt wanted a different image of me than I was putting out. And I was I'm going to stay true to me, and whoever wants to continue with me will move over to wherever I go. So I deleted that account and started over. And so at the beginning of this year, I was sitting at around 15K. And just kind of it was steadily growing, but it wasn't out of control.
Yeah, but I do have to say, Georgia understands the social media game. Several ladies that I work with do, and she understands that it's man, if you're going to be successful in the social media world, you just have to I know we keep saying you got to hustle, but really, just Georgia's she is just on that thing, on her TikTok, on her Insta. She's just nonstop.
I'm on my phone too much. That's what he's saying. He's like, Georgia, get off your phone. I have my phone right here. I'm gonna just do it through the thing right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. You really you have to be.
I'm gonna throw this plug out here. Pop socket from Georgia Limited has a little G on the back. It's a wire wheel. Okay.
This segment is sponsored by.
So I just deleted the old account, decided to jump on into a new account. It was steadily growing at the beginning of this year, and then it started blowing up more and more and more and more. And it was cool because people wanted to connect, and it was very just authentic to me. And I just was unapologetically myself. That's basically what it was. Like, this is what you get.
This is it.
And people enjoyed that because I think that it was very relatable. I feel like I'm a relatable person.
The older account was a little more like
a little bit more distanced, a little bit more reserved. Not reserved as in like
more narrow in scope, essentially. Or something.
Yeah, I felt like the old account was very much like less of me being me and more of me being hired as a model or that sort of thing. So it was working really, really well. And then I came down here in July to come down to Texas, do some shows, come over to California and whatnot. And the account, when I first was coming down, it was sitting at around 80K. And by the time I was like a week and a half into being down here, it hit 100K and it just kept going. I was actually at one point was like, what is happening? Like, I would wake up every morning and there'd be a few more thousand people on it. And I was like, how is this happening? Like, this is out of, in the best way possible. And so within the course of like a month, the count grew like, I don't know, 70,000 people.
I was going to say, like at 180 before?
It was like at one. So then, it was like at 160 something before it got disabled. And so everything was all fine and dandy. And then I came down here and I was here for about a week. And like,
this is our second trip down.
This is my second trip down here. And like, this is a big one because I'm down here for 2 months.
Yeah.
It's like a full-on tour where I'm at somewhere every weekend and I'm at different places every weekend. So I need to let people know where I'm at, how to find me, where I'm going to be, all this kind of stuff. And my Instagram went down. And it was like, your account's been disabled, yada, yada, yada. You can appeal to have it back. So all these accounts started messaging my Georgia Limited page, laughing and saying it was them that had gotten rid of it. Like, there was like 50 or so, and I just kept blocking them. But then I went and I looked at my block list and it was like 50 accounts later, and I was like, this is out of control. So basically, from what I was told, that there's some dark web forum that these guys are all on together, and they think it's like a good fun time to attack big accounts and get them pulled down. And because Instagram has very strict guidelines on certain stuff, especially not even like anything racy, not nudity or anything of that involved, like stuff that involves like bullying, harassment, that sort of, it's very strict. And so they all reported me at the same time for all those kind of things. And Instagram pulled my account down.
Just an automatic reaction by some computer somewhere.
Yeah, and so I have tried nearly everything because you cannot call Instagram. It's automated. You can't, there's nobody to email. You can send their appeal forms in. So every day I just send appeal forms in. The account went back up like the next day
6 hours?
For like 6 hours, and then it got pulled down again, and the same account started messaging me again, laughing about it, saying that they did it. So I don't really know what to do at this point. At the same time, I'm very grateful that a lot of people have realized and jumped over to the Georgia Limited account just because that's where to find me these days. But it is, as a business, it's pretty devastating just because it is, especially while being on the road and in the middle of like this tour.
Shitty timing for sure.
Oh, it was terrible timing. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I try and stay focused on the fact that, things happen the way they're supposed to happen, and maybe for some reason there's going to be some sort of silver lining. I don't know.
Silver lining on it, yeah.
And it'll be okay. So, I mean, people thought I was nuts the first time when I deleted my old account. So, and I managed to rebuild and come back bigger than ever then. So maybe I'll just do it again. You know, you just got to prove everyone wrong.
Well, at the end of the day, it's still the hustle.
Yeah.
Keep that hustle going.
Yeah, I just got to keep it going. Do as much as I can. Do what I can with what I can. And that's all I can do. So, yeah. That's the story of my Instagram.
That is the story of
the end. No, I don't want to. I am saying it now, and so now you have it on recording. But I want to be here in 2022.
Well, how about that's a nice teaser. We'll have to see where that goes now.
So everybody that might be watching, there's some potential for 2022. Where will I be? Leave your guess in the comments.
Yeah.